So, Shelley here with the Voice of Peace, broadcasting from Israel during the war with Iran, so to speak. So, this is a 2030 event, and this is part 3. So, I've picked again at the chart of Iran, and this is very telling of attempts to interfere in the sovereignty of Iran by 2030 agenda. Midheaven for Iran is 0 degrees Libra, I believe. The Pluto is 18 degrees Libra retrograde, which would make it opposing the point of the eclipse in April. So again, very fated interference in the sovereignty of Iran at this time. And yes, they have Pluto less than 10 degrees from Israel's ascendant, if you take the Libra ascendant. So, of course, Israel's ascendant is opposite by sign to this solar eclipse that we had. Chiron is still on that point. Lot of fortune was crossing Ketu in Libra, and thereby planning to conjunct the Pluto of Iran. And so we see massive interference of the sovereignty of Iran. Again, with Ketu here, there is a decrease in nuclear ability and in soft power. Okay, Pluto Libra is soft power. The sun for Iran is in 10 degrees Aries, where Venus is right now, which is ruling Ketu. So it's very likely that this attempt happened so to pinpoint the sun, but through Venus and with Ketu. So there is an actual attempt to basically decrease from the identity, from the solar shine of Iran, because what Venus ruling Ketu, and thus sending or infiltrating and sending these attacks from Iran, supposedly, yes, to Israel, which would of course necessitate an Israeli response, has the complication in itself and has a worldly pivotal point. I remind you that the Israeli chart has midheaven on Procyon, the great denuclearificator. It's a good time to call to Procyon for denuclearification. So for the interferences in the sovereignty of Iran that were fated to happen in this situation, we do see that Iran has a Mercury retrograde in Pisces at the last degrees of Pisces. So Mercury retrograde is more actually appropriate for Iran to be more able to cope with things that come their way. Although Mercury in Pisces is fallen, it means that the psychic power, actually Iranian I don't know people, but the psychic power is evident. So if, I don't know if anybody who has family in Iran hears this, or in Israel, or also in Gaza and the neighboring countries, because this can affect, pay attention to psychic, to your dreams, psychic protection. Again, return to sender, to the one who gave the order, and do not interfere the people around. Okay, so we don't send generational curses back. We only target the people who give the order and the chain of command, so that it would be, frozen or binded, which is good actually for the chain of command, because it's impossible for many to disobey illegal orders. So we're doing justice and we're doing something in favor of humanity when we do return to sender in this way. So the Mercury retrograde is more or less appropriate. They have an exalted Jupiter, an erratic Jupiter in Cancer. And so this is a country, this makes me think that the religious revolution that happened is actually, but also the previous Shah became too religious as well, was actually already infiltration of the sovereignty of Iran. Funnily enough, the chart of 79 is from April 1, April Fool's Day. I'm not joking. Yes, the sun is exalted in Aries, 10 degrees at the time. So there's a potency to this chart. However, I do think that with such exalted Jupiter, it doesn't look like the chart of a declaration of independence of a religious revolution, because exalted Jupiter on the anaretic degree of Cancer is unlikely to be fundamentalistic. Again, this tells us that there are great secular powers in Iran itself. I was not expecting this. I knew about the people. I did not know about the regime. But what we get is not Iran. Okay, what we get is a part of world order, and this is a country that they wanted to infiltrate its sovereignty. 79 was not long ago. I remind you that declarations of independence are pre-elected. So when we talk about new world order, we're talking about a conjoining and conglomerates of people with various backgrounds and religions that have something in common, is not the interest or the favor of humanity. And making all kinds of experiments. One experiment that was in Iran, this the religious revolution. There are other experiments in Israel with Pfizer, even before that, in Gaza, what they call open air prison. Ascribe this to the world order issue. And this is also why a commander of 82,000, which is an intelligence unit in Israel, was exposed. So we don't know the name, but it was exposed the name to another person. And of course, it's easier to do it like, Iran did this and so on. But no, it's not the right level of analysis anymore. This is so. What can Iran do for its sovereignty? So one thing is Spica. Both Israel and Iran can turn to Spica because they have placements in Libra. Israel is closer to Spica, and Iran has Mercury deficit, but it can tend to it through Spica. So both people in Iran or the secular regime here and there can turn to Spica. And Spica is about, even though there is injustice, there is also the reprimand, okay? There is also advocating for the self. For Israel, it's very good to turn to Spica, but they must give good reverence to Algol. And so does Iran. Iran has a moon in 28 degrees Taurus, only 2 degrees away from Algol. So for Iran, it is so good to do things in favor of women, to give reverence to women. And this is why you saw the religious revolution was against women. This is an infringement on the sovereignty of Iran. I'm not talking about the current regime, okay? I'm talking about the world order level. I'm talking about 2030 agenda level. Because the power of Iran is identity, and the infiltration of the sovereignty of Iran basically happens when the moon is conjoining Algol. We know that we must respect women, we must not rape, we must not victim blame, we must not tell a woman what to wear, we must not tell a woman that this clothes make you modest, this clothes does not, we must not police what women are wearing, we must not do any of these things because this is causing detriment to the people of Iran, not just to women, the people of Iran. This is where Algol can bring about invasion to Iran, and they're trying to bring that from Israel. Okay, but Israel, what it must do is again give reverence to women, but the way it will affect, the way giving reverence to Algol-like themes. So do not victim blame, do not allow people to be silenced. Of course not, rape and all these things. Of course not believe people that do it. Of course not. To practice open dialogue in housing first for when people have like a psychic attack or psychosis, and not to do medical warfare with, Israel's 12th house is Virgo, so they must be very cautious when it comes to First of all, the 12th house for any nation is the hospitals. And this is why the WHO has so many 22 degrees on it, because it basically is kind of like a hospital service that infiltrates the 12th house of every nation. So we have another evergreen teaching here. But when Israel does give reverence to goal themes to do sovereignty, to safety and sensuality, not to do victim blaming, not to let religion, even Judaism, not to let religion silence the voices of women. This is where it will affect the Israel son. The Israel identity in Israel will be prosperous. Will have great wealth. Okay, sun is also gold. So Israel can actually have gold in it. And this is an 8th house sun. This is also in favor of intergenerational trauma of not only the Jewish people, but all the people that live in Israel, but also the leaders. Okay, this is actually the leaders in Israel, and it's this infiltration of the sovereignty of Israel to make Israel too religious or secular in the way that is still sexist. Okay, it's the same as fundamentalism. Okay, it's sexist atheist. It's the same as an imam. This is my argument with Geert Wilders all the time. I tell them, this Muhammad, that Muhammad, ook are funded by BlackRock. And this is where the infiltration of the sovereignty of Israel can come through a religious or an orthodox government, and they can try to do a religious revolution in Israel, very like to what happened in Iran. So to try to get these two countries to kind of play puppet show where they are going against each other. There's so much in common between Israel and Iran. So leaders, any person leader, even if you were elected, to be a puppet, they will sacrifice you. Okay, they will sacrifice you. They will not keep you. So leaders must give reverence to Al-Gol, protect the voices of women, and Al-Gol will protect them when they disobey a 2030 agenda.